If I had to compartmentalize him, I'd place Marcel Rév in the camp of the new school of cinematographers who like to elevate on-screen emotion visually by using higher contrast lighting with mixed color temperatures, a darker negative, and a combination of large format digital and film cameras. The crux of his cinematography style comes down to the idea of emotional realism. In this episode, I'll look at Marcel Rév's philosophy on photography and show some of the gear which he uses to execute his vision. If you haven't seen yet, In-Depth Cine has official merch. The designs feature original illustrations which represent film crew and the real gear used on industry sets. If you want to have a look at it, go to the link in the description to check it out. Marcel Rév was born in Hungary and studied cinematography at the Academy of Drama and Film in Budapest, where he attended a masterclass led by legendary DP Vilmos Zsigmond. After starting his career working mainly in Hungary, he's since transitioned to shooting a lot of US content. He works in short form on commercials and music videos, as well as long form on feature films and series. Some of the directors he's worked with include Sam Levinson, his father Barry Levinson, and Cornel Mundruzzo. One of the directors which he's probably most known for working with is Sam Levinson. They have a tight creative partnership. When working together, Rév tends to be involved from day one, being sent early drafts of scripts when the concept is still in the idea phase. He likes getting involved before pre-production starts whenever possible, especially when working for a very visual director like Levinson. Together they will start collecting images, watching films, and putting together some visual ideas.
We collect these visual references, we discuss them, and by the time we're getting to actual prep, we kind of know what the feel will look like.
Identifying the feel or emotion behind the look is a crucial part of his process. I describe Rév's stylistic philosophy as emotional realism, a way of showing emotion in a more visually exaggerated way. He often uses amped up cinematic choices like slightly unrealistic colored lighting, for example, which elevates scenes out of complete naturalism, while the characters and story stay rooted in a more realistic approach. The primary reference they came up with for Euphoria, with its individual ensemble cast members who are all linked together, was Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia. They drew on some of the longer takes Magnolia used, which involved intricate camera moves. To execute the carefully choreographed movement they had planned, Rév recruited Jeff Kunkel as his key grip, who had also worked on Magnolia. Surrounding himself with an experienced technical crew is an important part of Rév's process. On Euphoria, once they started pre-production with their visual style in mind, they then collaborated to develop comprehensive storyboards for the show. Having these storyboards in place was a great structural tool, as it helped them plan out the difficult camera moves required and meant they had a solid plan going in. Despite being grounded by a plan, Rév also enjoys moments on set where he can be more reactive and make flexible decisions, which may go against the initial plan whenever appropriate.
There are instinctive decisions on set. We always have a good plan for most of the situations. For the entire first season, we storyboarded and we come with a plan. But with Sam, it's pretty easy to change things on the day as we feel like something would work better.
An example of a more instinctive decision occurred on the Part 1 special episode in Euphoria. The majority of the episode takes place in a diner at night in a long scene. Initially, they'd only planned to shoot a small portion of the scene at the beginning through the glass window from the outside to establish things, and then jump inside to shoot the rest of the scene. After seeing the 35mm film rushes from the first day, Levinson and Rév both liked the glass foreground so much that they decided to cover a significant portion of the scene from outside the diner, and then use those long shots when necessary in the edit. It was a risky move since it was a very long scene and they only had a limited time to shoot it, but ultimately it added an interesting perspective to the scene, which they hadn't envisioned in pre-production. To achieve a feeling of emotional realism, Rév has used different cameras, lenses, and lights, depending on the project's requirements. He loves shooting on 35mm film and claims it's his medium of choice for most projects whenever it's feasible. He likes the ARRI system and uses the ARRICam Lite as his go-to 35mm camera. He has paired the ARRICam with Eastman XX 5222 for a classically grainy black and white look on Malcolm and Marie, and always uses Kodak Vision 3 500 tungsten for 35mm color work. However, he does accept digital cameras are more suitable for other projects. White God required working with dogs and rolling for extended periods of time to capture the right moments from the animals. In the end, they shot about 170 hours of footage, so elected to use the Alexa Mini at 2K for practical and financial reasons. The Alexa's ability to shoot at 800 ASA with less light also helped him for night scenes where he couldn't afford the large sources necessary to shoot on the less sensitive 500 ASA stock, which he likes to meter at around 320 ASA. For Euphoria's first season, he elected to mainly go large format digital, shooting on the Alexa 65. He felt this format had a contemporary feel, which suited the mood of the show. As the show and the characters matured into the special episodes and season 2, he swapped large format digital for 35mm film. However, with digital, he fights to make the image not feel excessively clean by dirtying it up with lots of atmospheric smoke or using vintage lenses, such as the rehoused old glass found in the ARRI DNAs.
We found these amazing lenses for the Alexa large format, tested with the DNA lenses. Ari's rehousing some old glass, I don't know what are they, but I think maybe Mamias or I don't know. They just have this like amazing feel to it. And I found one particular lens, a 65mm focal length, that we ended up shooting like 98% of the show on that one single lens.
He's also used other lenses such as Cooke S4s, Zeiss Super Speeds, Kawa Cine Promenade Primes, as well as zoom lenses such as the lightweight Angenieux Optimo range. He's used these zooms to do push-ins to direct the audience's focus to a particular character or detail in a shot. As I mentioned, Rév uses light to evoke an emotional realism. He does this in part by mixing strong light sources with different color temperatures and hues. He uses a lot of large tungsten units mixed with LEDs and HMIs.
I love LED lights, but tungsten units have a certain quality that just you can't match that, I think. Most of the times, like on stage, I do like direct sun for stage interiors with tungsten units a lot, and maybe I just add a little fill or bounce with HMIs, and I endorse that color contrast. For night exteriors, I use tungsten lights a lot.
For one night scene at a carnival, his crew rigged 4 20K tungsten Fresnels on condors in different positions, spread throughout the large set to backlight the scene. He hid tungsten maxi brutes behind booths and rides to backlight them, and accentuated the rest of the set by including various practical lights in various colors in the shot. He then used a big softbox rigged overhead as a top light to provide soft, overhead, moonlight-esque ambient fill to the scenes. To get a warm, cool color contrast, he regularly mixes the warm temperature of tungsten lights with HMIs, gelled with a cool cyan 30 or 60 gel. Even if these colors aren't really realistic, they create a more emotionally exaggerated look, which suits the tone of the show. To give a sense of chaos and introduce the space, as well as connecting various characters together at the carnival scene, he used a techno crane, which dollied, jibbed, and telescoped smoothly at various points during a long take. A lot of his work is done either with a dolly tracking along a straight axis, or a handheld camera, which he likes to operate. Marcel Rév has used his skills and gear throughout his career to sculpt films with a bold visual style, which isn't overly bothered with reality. Instead, his photography focuses on using cameras, lights, and movement in creative and innovative ways to produce a response which appropriately represents the emotions of the story and the characters. If you enjoyed this episode of Cinematography Style, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments who else you'd like to see featured in this series. Until next time, thanks for watching and goodbye.